Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our second session in our Information Warfare Pavilion Speakers Series here at West 2025. We've got a great lineup for you over the next couple of days, and I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest, Vice Admiral Craig Clapperton, who's got 5 hats that you see up there. Commander U.S. Fleet Cyber Command, Commander 10th Fleet, Commander Joint Force Headquarters Cyber for the Navy, Commander Navy Space Command. And there's another one up there that I haven't caught yet. Cryptologic Community Lead, I believe. Yes, sir. He's a Penn State grad, Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering. Started out as a naval flight officer. Went to the War College, Nuke Power School, flew A-6 intruders, prowlers and growlers. Quite a storied warfighting background. I'm not going to go through all his commands. You can read those his bio online. I want to give more time to the Admiral. So without delay, Admiral, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. All right, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Very much appreciate the opportunity and the honor to be here. I think this is about, my 4th time being out at West, and then when you throw in AFCEAs and other events, it's more than that. And sooner or later, I will get this right and figure out what it is they want me to talk about when I'm up here. So let me, for those of you that have heard me talk those other 5 or 6 times, 1, you should probably stop stalking me. And then 2, I apologize because I'm going to sort of level set for everybody kind of what's unique about the command and the enterprise and the amazing men and women, officer, civilian, enlisted, contractor that make up the enterprise that is these 5 hats. So the first one, as said, Fleet Cyber Command. The second one, as part of Fleet Cyber Command, we also then are assigned under U.S. Cyber Command as Joint Force Headquarters Cyber Navy. That's where we get a lot of the offensive cyber capabilities that we have. Fleet Cyber technically is more of the secure, operate, and defend the DoDIN Navy. I am also the commander of U.S.-10th Fleet, which then is, I'm both my own subordinate and boss. So Fleet Cyber is the boss for Com-10th Fleet. And 10th Fleet has the responsibility, as I like to say, to deliver the right information at the right time, to the right place, in a secure manner. And we do that for the entire Navy, 24/7 globally. Then I am also, as of January last year, officially the Navy Space Commander. And in that role, I am a force provider to General Whiting, who's the Spacecom Commander. The specifics is whether or not I'm going to be able to do operational roles for him and actually operational employ forces for him. We're still trying to work that out. Right now, they put all their operational authorities through a thing called SAGISTIC, the Combined Joint Forces Space Component. But again, when you have one 3-star that is responsible for executing all the space operations for 11 other combatant commands, that's going to be a huge role. And so I think what will eventually happen, and we're working this through Spacecom, is that those service components, so Marine Space, AF Space, Army Space, Navy Space, we will also get some operational authority. So we'll see how that goes. And then, as pointed out, I'm also the leader of the Navy Cryptologic Office that we're actually trying to work with OPNAV to have that turn into the Navy Cryptologic Command. The other services call it Command, we call it Office. And then in that role, responsible up to the what we would think of as the NSA, but it's really the Chief of Central Security Service, which is still General Hawk, for all the Navy cryptologic functions. So in those 5 hats, and I alluded to some of these, I work for 9 different 4-star headquarters, right? So obviously I work for the CNO. I work for General Hawk in both his Cyber Command and his NSA hats. I work for General Whiting as the commander of U.S. Space Command. But then in my Joint Force Headquarters Cyber Navy role, I am responsible for the cyber coordination for all of U.S. Indo-PACOM, all of U.S. Southern Command, and U.S. Forces Korea. So in that role, I work for Admiral Paparo, Admiral Halsey, and General Brunson. And then, as I pointed out, in the 10th Fleet role, responsible for moving all the data in a secure fashion to all the Navy commands globally that I do through NavyNet Warcom and NICTAM's LANT PAC and all the various NCTS stations around the world. And in that job, I'm responsible to Admiral Cottle, Admiral Kaler, Admiral Munch, and then, of course, Admiral Wyckoff. So 9 4-stars and 1 3-star for that mission, right? So I tell you all that so that you can understand the complexity of this job and the number of people that we're responsible to. But it also gives us a very unique perspective, a very unique set of authorities, and a very unique understanding of the global challenges that we face in space, in cyber, and information warfare. And that's a key piece of what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, so all those 9 4-star commanders, what's the world and the environment that they're trying to force me to work through and the challenges that they face, right? So on the cyber side, we see nation-state and nation-state actors continually, I won't use the word attacking, and sometimes you see that in the media. It's not necessarily attacking. Most often, overwhelmingly, it is pre-positioning, okay? It is exploiting, it is gaining information, and it is positioning on our critical infrastructure and our telecommunications networks. Look, that doesn't mean that's good. It's still bad, but it is not as bad as attacking, right? Now, the other good thing is, as you can see here in some of the news articles that are up there, is that we are actually catching them do that. So that's a good thing. It's not a good thing that they're there, but it's a good thing that we've caught them. We know they're there. Once we know they're there, we can then work through the processes of hardening those networks, securing those networks, and even fighting back and imposing cost on those adversaries. Also out in the world, we have both nation states and not nation state actors conducting lawfare in the South and East China Sea, invading other countries a la Russia, Ukraine, and then non-nation state actors like the Houthis continually attacking U.S. Navy ships, as well as maritime traffic that's trying to flow through the Red Sea and the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb. So nation-state, non-nation-state actors that are not following the international rules that we have all operated under for decades, not respecting territory, not respecting sovereignty, not respecting the free flow of commercial goods around the globe, not respecting the right to navigation globally. That's another huge complicating problem. We then also bring in great power competition and other major nuclear powers conducting, no kidding, offensive operations, invading other countries, again, not respecting territorial lines, Russia, Ukraine. And then, saber rattling from the PRC about Taiwan, and then numerous lawfare activities in the South and East China Sea, trying to make unreasonable sovereignty claims that are not consistent with all the other countries in that region. That's another huge complicating factor. And this is part of the world that we live in. So in competition right now, we're facing all these challenges from cyber actors, from space actors, from kinetic actors. And those 9 4-stars across the globe, they have things that they're asking for from my command to help them fight that. So when you take the 5 hats and the 9 4-stars and that dynamic world environment, you have to simplify it for folks. So we've simplified it to 3 warfighting capabilities that we provide to the joint force. And this is the lens that we view those responsibilities through. So the number 1, assured command and control, and that includes NC3. Number 2, battle space awareness and space domain awareness to enable precision long-range fires. And number 3, the integration of non-kinetic effects. And that's not just the integration of non-kinetic effects with other non-kinetic effects. It is that. But it's the integration of those non-kinetic effects with dynamic force maneuver, with MCON, with deception, and with kinetic effects, if and when required, to be able to get the outcome we want to increase the survivability of U.S. partner and ally forces and the lethality of those forces when, as Admiral Kaler said, we're operating inside the West. So those are the warfighting capabilities that we're bringing to the force. They are the number 1 priority for my commands. Warfighting has been the number 1 priority since I took over. Readiness is number 2. And then I start talking about things like integration, innovation, and partnerships. So does this align with my 9 4-star bosses? I think it does. The CNO talks about warfighting and warfighters and the foundation. Well, my 1 and 2 are warfighting and readiness. When you look at how she views warfighters and I view readiness, it's the same thing. And when you look at what she considers the foundation, it is, in fact, That integration with allies and partners, integration across the interagency, integration with industry, integration with our academic and educational partners to figure out how we can make that force as agile and lethal and expert as we can be. General Hawk in Cybercom 2.0 talks about building mastery. And when he talks about building mastery, he's talking about building mastery in cyber operations, mastery in SIGINT operations. And at the top of his list is counter C5 ISRT systems. And when he talks about building mastery, that aligns perfectly with the concept that the CNO talks about with warfighters and that I talk about with readiness. When you go to General Whiting, he calls 2025 the year of command and control. It's the number one priority of my number one priorities. So I'm very much aligned with General Whiting. He also talks about significantly about counter C5 ISRT and the integration of non-kinetic effects and the need for space domain awareness. So we have good alignment there. Admiral Paparo talks about counter C5 ISRT, enabling survivable operations inside the WES and enabling us to deliver precision long-range fires and having the battle space awareness of how to do it. So I think we've got good alignment with our 9 4-star bosses, and its alignment and its capability that we're bringing to the Joint Force that I think helps us get after that complex world that I talked about that we live in. So let's dive in a little bit about how you guys can help us in each of these areas and what we're doing in each of these areas. So on assured command and control, I think probably the most important thing I'm trying to do is improve how hard and how well censored and how well tooled our unclassified network is, and then accelerating to move forward and harden, virtualize, and quote-unquote zero trust our warfighting networks. And we have some work to do there. I've got great partnership with the non-CIO. We've got very good alignment with Cybercom and JFHQ-Doden on this, or DISA. And then also recently very good alignment now with the DoD CIO to be able to build a multi-tenant environment in SIPRNet that is going to enable us to virtualize that network and then do the kind of things that you guys are familiar with what we've done with flank speed on the NIPRNet side, do similar capabilities onto that SIPRNet warfighting side so that that network is virtualized, it is modernized, it is more resilient, it's more redundant, it's better censored. I will use the Navy Cyber Defensive Operations Center and CDOC as the cybersecurity service provider for it. It will enable remote mitigation, and it will significantly harden that network and make it a true warfighting network. That's my number one priority. CNO talks about fight from the mock. I love the concept of fighting from the mock. You heard the IBOS up here talking about it. He talked about the Navy's 9 mocks, and mine's one of them. But like I said on my panel this morning, you are not going to fight from the mock without Navy Net War Command, Navy Net Warfare Command, and NCDOC, or NCTAMS LANT, NCTAMS PAC, and the global architecture of NCTSs. Because as I said, you will have a really cool room with lots of great computers that can't talk to anybody. Because the only way to fight from the mock is to use that Navy Net Warcom architecture to get the right data, the right place, the right time in a secure fashion. Got to have it. It's got to be multi-phenomenology. It's got to be low probability of intercept. It's got to be resilient. And we can't ever be satisfied with where we are. So when we start thinking, okay, we've got the most low probability of intercept, low probability of detection, most resilient, most redundant, doesn't matter, denied capability, architecture to move that data in a secure way, okay, you better start moving towards what the next thing is, because the bad guys are. So you got to keep moving forward. But ultimately, it's about building networks that are more zero trust, more resilient, better tools, better awareness that enables more rapid remediation. And it's also backed up by big data platforms that talk to one another, not big data platforms that by service just work for the services, but that talk to one another, and big data platforms that are enabled by AI and ML. Number 2, enhanced battle space awareness, which includes space domain awareness. If you're going to do long-range fires, CNO talks about that, Admiral Paparo talks about it, General Hawk knows that that is a key role for him in both his NSA and his Cyber Command hats. If you're going to do battle space, space domain awareness to enable long-range fires, you got to have an enterprise approach to that problem. So the Navy's approach to that problem has been to start with KNIFE, the Navy Integrated Firing Element, in close partnership with NSA Colorado and ADFC Colorado to enable long-range, global, precision, passive SIGINT targeting. Been doing it for years. FOC capability, 24/7, significant capacity to meet those requirements globally. Can we do everything every combatant commander wants at once? No. Are we striving to get there? Yes. How do we do that? A few more people, but mainly, this is where that innovation and partnership with industry and academia and others is, mainly it's advancing the computer systems we have, getting as much of the people out of the loop while keeping them in the loop enough to enable machine-to-machine communications and AI/ML to help with the decision making. I don't ever want to get in a situation where the machines are making the decision about whether that truly is TQ-12 and you ought to kill it. I want people making that decision. Because candidly, I don't trust the machine to make that decision. But I want the machine to help the people make that decision. So we need help from industry to be able to innovate, rapidly deploy, rapidly operationalize. And then you heard the IBOS talking about this, and this is something that we're challenged with. We need to then rapidly train the civilians and military workforce that's going to man these systems. These are new systems, new capability. We didn't stop doing all the other things that a NIOC does, right? We still do all the things that NIOC Pacific and Maryland and Texas that they do. And now we're going to add in Navy Integrated Fire Element. Oh, by the way, that's not enough because you can't just reach back to Colorado all the time. You may not be able to get back to the mothership. So we're building a federated organization. We already have Navy over the horizon cell. Hawaii, Notch. That now, 24/7, at least to its FOC or its IOC capability, should go FOC this year. We're building out the Maryland over the horizon cell. They call it Moth. I don't love that name, but that's what they're calling it. And then Georgia is going to build out the Georgia over the horizon cell and call it Goth. I like that name less. But I care about the capability. All right, so we're federating that capability. But I got to have sailors, I got to have officers, I got to have civilians, and I'm probably going to need contractors. They're going to know how I can exchange that information better at machine speeds, enable that system to use automatic target recognition and AI and all the other high-end SIGINT capabilities so that I can push all those combatant commanders and Navy fleet commanders precision targeting when they need it. We're also using capabilities like maritime targeting cell, afloat, and expeditionary across the Navy and the Marine Corps. Want to put them on aircraft carriers and amphibious ships. We're going to put them in 3rd Fleet and 7th Fleet and hopefully 6th Fleet and other numbered fleet headquarters, and we'll probably call them TIFEs when they're there because it will blend knife-like capabilities with MTC Alpha-like capabilities, which then blends the high-end SIGINT with the ability to do multi-int. That's where you get the most bang for the buck. So I think you're going to see those systems in the numbered fleet headquarters, and then you're going to see MTC Alphas and X-rays on expeditionary strike groups, MEFs, carrier strike groups, etc. And then we're building unmanned systems like Triton. There are unmanned systems and capabilities that we'll eventually be putting on surface ships, and then also on the stand-in force, again, to support all of that. Massive amount of innovation needs to happen here. It's good. The system we have right now is good. It's the best in the world. But it's not fast enough, and it doesn't have the capacity to do what we're going to need to if this goes to a full-on scale, global potential engagement. Because if something happens with Russia, if something happens with China, it's not like Iran and North Korea are going to sit back and put their feet up and watch. Right? We've got to be ready to respond globally to all those requirements. That's going to take the full effort here. All right. And now the non-kinetic effects piece. How am I doing on time? I'm doing okay. All right. So on the non-kinetic effects piece, we're innovating all the time. Working with Admiral Harding's team, great support from the IBOS, amazing work from the Navy Cyber Warfare Development Center, great work with our industry partners, our academic partners, where we are delivering one-of-a-kind, not being done anywhere else, cyber capabilities and cutting-edge electronic warfare capabilities that are significantly adding to the menu of options that combatant commanders can use to bring non-kinetic effects to increase survivability and lethality of the joint force. Now, the key thing is, as I said, one of those isn't good enough. Two of them isn't good enough. And oh, by the way, even when you get to 10, 12, 15 of them, okay, this is where modeling in sim, okay, high-end modeling in sim, again, enabled by high-end computing in decision-making is going to be critical. Because we'll build out 15 things for those combatant commanders to execute, and then they're going to go, okay, well, what if 1, 5, 7, and 9 don't work, right? Because, I mean, that's a thing. Maybe the adversary stops it. Maybe they fix it. Maybe whatever path we were going to use to institute it isn't there anymore. What happens then? No human brain can work through that math. So we need high-end modeling in sim to be able to say, what is the right order to do all those things? Because there's a right order and a wrong order. And how do we do it without fratriciding one another? And how do we do it so that it gives the most effect, the most increase in lethality, the most increase in survivability to the maneuver force that's inside that WES? We're really good at building the thing. The electronic warfare platform, the high-end cyber capability, the battle space awareness capability. We're really good at building the thing and making it real. And you guys are a huge piece of that. We are not so good at then rapidly building the training and repetitive, reproducible process so that when the first iteration is gone, the next set is ready to roll in. And that we're then going to build mastery for the sailors that now have this very unique skill set. These are not skill sets, in many cases, that CTs and CWTs and ITs and ISs are doing right now. These are additional things we're asking these military and civilian members to do. So they need the training to do it, and then they need career pipelines and training processes that are going to make them masters. I don't need generalists. I need experts that are able to attack a kill chain from step one to step last and do it properly every time. And know which ones to not do together and which one's first and which one's last. We're going to need your help with that. So then that gets into my last slide here, and this is the innovation and the capability piece. Okay, so I have this organization called Navy Cyber Warfare Development Group. Very unique command. I give them all their priorities that I get from those 9 4-stars. I want this, I want that, I want 2 of these, 4 of those, and 5 of them, and I want them tomorrow. Okay, boss, working on it. I turn to Nickwich, and I'm like, you need to build me this EW capability. I need a cyber tool to do X, Y, Z. I need you to work with some of your industry, contract, and developmental partners to help me solve a security problem on a network. I turn to them to do that. Now, the great thing about Nickwich is it then gets its acquisition authorities and some rapid fielding authorities from ASN RDA. So they are running billions of dollars of programs. It is not limited acquisition. They can do things rapidly through their research and development hat, and they can do things that are going to be long-term that will eventually become programs of record across the joint force. It's a very unique command to be able to do that. But there's just one of them. And I need to increase the partnership and the sharing they have with industry, with academia, with other services. I need to increase the sharing they're able to do with our allies and partners. As I said this morning on my panel, we don't have a cornerstone on all the good ideas and cool technology. Our allies and partners are bringing an amazing game to this table. And that's not just the Five Eyes. That's our allies and partners across the globe. What's the methodology we have to be able to share this high-end intelligence and development capability with them in a secure fashion? We need work. We have some work to do there. And this is an area where, again, industry can help us a great deal. So Nickwich is a piece of this. We're also doing it with my cyber warfare engineers. Again, I mentioned them this morning, so this is a very unique group of folks, about 85 of them in the Navy. I'd like to see it be 150. I'm working with the I-boss on that. I've talked to the CNO about it. I think everybody thinks it's a great idea. These guys, you know, I use this analogy, but I think, you know, if you don't understand baseball or whatever, you might not understand it, but a lot of people know baseball and know the New York Yankees and know Derek Jeter, okay? He's an amazing shortstop. He's a great hitter. He's a great leader. But everybody on the Yankees gets better when he's playing. He's that kind of guy. He just brings that kind of bang to the table. Not only is he the best at what he does, but he makes everybody around them better at what they do. Well, I'm telling you, these cyber warfare engineers, that's what they bring. And it's not just in cyber. Yes, I give them my most challenging offensive cyber challenges. This network, this set of hackers, this security tool, go figure it out. We also give them some of our most challenging defensive pieces. We also ask them questions like, hey, how can we use AI and ML in these environments to help us code, to help us defend, to help us go through massive amounts of intelligence so that we can figure out what the best way to implement these non-kinetic effects are. They also do a lot of electronic warfare for us. So Nickwood is a cool name, but we got to figure out maybe a different name because they do a lot more than the cyber piece. They're doing EW, they're doing offensive cyber, they're doing defensive cyber, they're doing AI, they're doing big data computing. And so this group of people, I give them some of my most challenging problems. These guys solve them. And the thing is when you take those kind of people and you share them to across the IC, and you share them with high-end Five Eye partners that are also trying to solve the hardest problems in the world, they see real value in that. And they want more cowbell, and they want to partner closer. And you get that deeper, more holistic, more transparent, more complete partnership with those IC Five Eye partners, as well as industry and academic partners that we're doing with Nickwood, and you really start to get some momentum going. But 85 isn't enough. I got to double it. Got to double it. And that will have not just a doubling effect on our combat capability, I think it's going to be an exponential impact to what it brings. So I'm hoping to work with the IBOS, CMP, and CNO to do that. But Nickwood is really one of my key pieces. But it's not just in Nickwood, and it's not just in the CWE world that we're trying to do this. As I mentioned, General Hawk through Cybercom 2.0, trying to build mastery. I was talking with some folks earlier today. We have in the MICWO community, right? We're now building a chain of commands process in the MICWO community. First, MICWOs now aren't going to do what cryptologists used to do, right? Cryptologists did EW, they did SIGINT, they did all kinds of RF analysis, and then, oh, by the way, you guys also go command the cyber teams. Can you imagine being a lieutenant or lieutenant commander and every single one of your tours is in a completely different domain and we expect you to be an expert? Not particularly helpful. So great job by the Navy and working with Congress, and now we have MICWOs. Well, MICWOs are going to do cyber, and then they're going to do cyber, and then right after that, they're going to do cyber. Okay? And then I want to work with the IBOS so that we're no-kidding screening the team leads for our CPTs, not saying they need to be OICs or COs. We could do it like we do with department heads in aviation or surface warfare. And we'll screen our CPT, CST, and CMT leads. And then we're already building out in Hawaii the first cyber task force with 2 task groups underneath it. And they will be 05 task group commanders that have 04 screened CMT, CPTs working for them. And then there will be an 06 major command screened MICWO. First one's already identified. First 2 cyber task group commanders already identified. They'll be there by this summer. And we're building a career path for MICWOs that they'll do cyber and then cyber and then cyber. And they'll be experts. By the time they're in 05 or in 06 doing nothing but cyber with command and increasing responsibilities up the path, they're going to be steely-eyed killers. So that's where we're going with this. So it's innovation on the people side. It's innovation on the electronic warfare and the cyber side. It's innovation on the high-power computing side. We need help from industry with all that. We need help with academia on all that. And you guys are already doing great things partnering with us, but I think there's ample ground for us to expand on all that. So with that, I will stop. And we still have about 15 or 20 minutes, and I'm happy to take any questions that you guys may have. Thank you.
Admiral, good afternoon. Carl Kamasco, thanks for your remarks. I'll preface this by saying I'm a nuke SWO by training.
Hey, I don't get to call myself a nuke SWO, but I went to nuke school and commanded a ship that had nuclear power, so that seems like nuke SWO to me. I don't know.
Yes, sir. So I like how you say we need experts, not generalists,
Yep.
right? And what I observed in the nuclear power program is you get to a point where you have lieutenants or you have folks that come up, they're first-class petty officers about to make chief, and they have a decision point, right? They have these huge offers to go out in industry, make $300,000-$400,000 a year, right? And I see that as a particular challenge. So with respect to recruiting and drawing folks that have those available options, they graduate college, they can go work at Meta or Google, or they can come serve their country. how do you look at recruiting them in so that they can be part of that team of experts, right? So that you can grow that cadre to double the force. Thanks,
Yep, so it's a great question, and we work that hard every day. Thank you for that question, though. So here's how we're approaching that, right? So yes, we need to bring some more in, especially on the CWE side, and General Hawk would tell you that we need to bring them in on the cyber side. And that's what part of Cybercom 2.0, talking with all the forces, right? That we need to bring in more people. But we're fishing in the same pool that industry and academia are as well. And yes, it's a challenging thing, but people are out there. I would also tell you this, in the Navy, we need to treat cyber and IT degrees of equivalence to some of the engineering degrees we do. I didn't know this, my Fleet Master Chief told me this, so if I'm wrong, you can blame Fleet Master Chief, but I'm pretty sure he's right. That if you want to be in IT or computer science in college, that's not considered as being as good as being a mechanical engineer or an aerospace engineer. I mean, I'm an aerospace engineer and we're all brilliant. Just ask us, we'll tell you. But I don't understand why computer science isn't a quote unquote tier 1 degree, right? So that's step 1, right? Computer science, computer engineering, all those types of technology, data science, right? All those types of degrees, we got to make them tier 1, we got to seek those people out and we got to show them that we value it, right? Then you need to build career paths for them like I talked about with the MICWOs. That, by the way, when you do that, that then shrinks the areas of responsibility for the cryptologists so they can become experts in signals analysis or experts in EW, right? And you got to, we need to, and oh, by the way, we're building non-kinetic teams that are going to run some of these high-end EW capabilities that we have, right? I envision now screening OICs, actual OICs for a lot of those organizations, and I don't want 04 OICs working for me as an 09, right? So I need to build a task force in space that mimics that MICWO one, and I got work to do with the IBOS on that one. We've had general conversations, but we have work to do to get that right. We got to do manpower analysis, et cetera. So then, okay, so you got to recruit them and value the degrees they bring. You got to enable them to specialize in an area that shows that they're going to build true expertise in that. But then how do you retain them? Okay, challenge. So one, this is in NDA language, and the services are all looking at that. We need to look across the services and see what the Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, and Coast Guard, by the way, are doing right. And take the best from all of it and then make it equal across. Right now, it's not that way. You know, some people have better re-enlistment bonuses than others. Some people have better incentive bonuses than others. Some services don't give you a bonus or incentive for increasing your level of expertise. So if you're a basic fill in the blank, but you get the same amount of benefit as being a master fill in the blank or a senior fill in the blank. Well, there should be like, hey, you get this qualification, you get this level, we're going to throw some extra bank your way. Oh, by the way, we're going to value that more on a promotion board. You want to make chief, you want to make senior chief, you want to make lieutenant commander, go be whatever the next level is, right? I've talked with Admiral Harding about how do we then take those people that are showing expertise and the ability to move up and gain expertise. We got to then get them to NIWITIC and say, hey, Brian, this guy should be a cyber witty, not an IW witty, because again, it's the same problem, right? There's no way, if you understand the definition of what a WTI is, and what back in the day a Top Gun graduate is, right? There's a reason there's a Top Gun, and there's a Havoc, and there's a GWIT, and every platform has their thing. Because you can't be a WTI in all those things. You can be a WTI in the thing you're doing. So we need that in IW, right? I need a space WTI. I need an IP WTI. I need an EW, so forth and so on down the line. So we got to identify those people as we bring them up to those career paths, make them WTIs, and we got to get those WTIs out there to raise it all up. And then we got to identify those guys that can just play. Who's our Tiger Woods, right? Derek Jeter, right? Whoever it is. Who's that guy or gal? And get them to the schools, value them, and how do we make them go up the line? And then, yes, we are still going to lose people to industry, right? We're still going to lose people to academia. But there's going to be a group of those people that if we tell them we're going to keep you on target, keep you on the most important mission we have, let you work our most important problems, and oh, by the way, do things that would get you arrested in the outside world, there's going to be a portion of them that want to stay. We have a structure to do tours with industry. We've got to advocate more for that, right? So we can send them to you. You can teach them what you're doing. We'll teach them what we're doing. You'll have them for a year or two. You'll send them back, and we'll just keep that process going. We'll learn from one another, right? And then I also want to increase our reserve force for CWEs and MICWOs and space officers. Same, right? You got a guy, MSO, he goes out into the world, and now he's working for Starlink. Man, I want that guy coming back and telling me what he learned from Elon, right? and then, and share with SpaceX what your expertise was when you were in the Navy. So long answer, but a really important question. Please, sir.
Admiral Chad Bowman, Naval Postgraduate School. Thanks for the definition on MCWO and CWEs and the career vision there. What is the path to flag for both of those communities, or if it hasn't been identified yet, what might that look like?
Okay, so great question. So for MCWO, it's what I just said, right? Go get an appropriate degree. Doesn't have to be a STEM degree. There are going to be history majors that are MCWOs, just like there are history majors that are SWO nukes. Where's my SWO nuke back there, right? Yeah. There you go. See, I told you. I wasn't lying about history majors. So then you become a MCWO, right? And then you move up and show that expertise in MCWO. You get to be a team lead. You get screened to be an 05 task group lead. You get then selected to be one of our 2-3 major commanders specifically on the MCWO side, NC Doc, and then these 2 cyber task forces, right? And then we pick from that group of very talented post major command 06s to be 1-star MCWOs, right? And they can come to work for me as my deputy for JFHQ Cyber. They can come to work for me on the 10th Fleet side, although that's also certainly going to be open to the IP community. They can go be the deputy J3 at Cyber Command. The list goes on. So that's the path for that. For CWEs, right, there isn't a path to flag because CWEs are sort of like LDOs, right? They are very specific technical experts. And what we are going to do, though, is one, CWEs can stay until captain, right? And then they continue to solve those hard problems and do on-keyboard tactical, challenging, cyber type things. But we're also going to, we're working on this, but we're going to get to the point where we're offering CWEs likely an off-ramp at the 04 and 05 level. Say, hey, you want to be a commander? Then let's just change you to be a MCWO, and then you can go command that task group. And in fact, right now, my lead task group commander out in Hawaii is an 05 MCWO. My lead development task group commander is an 04, or just pinned on 05 CWE. So yeah, we're already using them that way. So great question, thanks. Anybody else?
Sir, good afternoon. Rob Harcourt from the British Embassy. I love the focus on non-kinetics, but given a lot of the non-kinetics have a global effect, how do you see to non-kinetics when just our structures are, sort of regionally defined COCOMs?
Yeah, so great question. All right, so this is why, in addition, when we talk about fight from the MOC, right, we also have to talk about joint integrated fire cells, as I call them. They use the same words in a different order at PAC Fleet and Indo-PACOM, but these integrated firing cells are what we need to do, right? And there needs to be an integrated firing cell, not just in Indo-PACOM, PAC Fleet into my headquarters or 3rd Fleet. There needs to be one in Vandenberg. There needs to be one at Cyber Command, and everyone's working towards that, right? But then we need to be able to, like you said, it's global, right? We got to share with our British friends, our Australian friends, our Japanese friends, our allies and partners around the globe that have game and interest in space, which is most of them, right? We've got to find a way to share and make sure, and this is what I was talking about, exchange critical information in a secure fashion at very classified levels with those allies and partners in the right way so they can understand what we're trying to do. And oh, by the way, again, those allies and partners all have game as well, so they can share back to what we're trying to do. And then these integrated firing cells need to deconflict and understand all that so that somebody can tell 4-stars that are combatant commanders or JJOC or JCHQ or all the rest of these commanders, right, what's going on. And as I mentioned, the human brain is likely not able to grasp all that. So you are going to need big data platforms and AI and high-end modeling in SIM so that you can properly articulate that to the 4-star commander of whatever service or nation it is, or political leadership of whatever nation it is, so that they can understand the potential risk that you're getting to. And this also, we deal with this just even in our own wargaming and exercising within the United States specifically. We'll go and say, hey, at this time, in this conflict, and this build up towards, actual phase 2 high-end conflict, we would want these space authorities and these cyber authorities and these EW authorities and these, IO authorities. And a lot of times the other parts of the interagency is like, you are crazy. There's no way we're going to advocate to the president or the National Security Command that should happen. And so then we need to understand, okay, what are your concerns about it? These are the risks by not doing it. Then they say, okay, well, this is how this could impact us in state or justice or commerce or whatever it might be. But we got to have those very mature conversations with ourselves and with our partners, and we're having it to some extent, but not to the scale we need to. so we can work through that stuff. We can't be 10 days from great power competition and we're going, I don't know, what capabilities do you have and what's your political process to work through, and that's a non-starter, right? You lose right there. So yes, we need to find the right ways to secure it, to share it. We need to find the right ways to integrate it, and then the right ways to articulate it to our senior military leaders and then our political leaders across the globe. And it's a huge challenge. We're working on it. We do it in exercises and war games every year, but we have to get faster and better. So I appreciate that question. All right, I think I probably have time for a couple more. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Lieutenant Bowles. I'm actually an 03 cryptologic warfare officer. So
Fantastic.
When you made that comment of being the 03 expected to know all these different things, it hit right here. I was just curious if you knew if there was
And that's not a criticism on you. That's just like not a capable thing to do, right? I mean,
Honestly, sir, actually, I love that part, but of being able to go from doing an EW tour, like my last tour with Cyber, and now I'm doing SIGINT. But I also understand the whole
got to have the expertise,
aspect.
We would never take somebody and make them a helicopter pilot, then a jet pilot, then a P-8 pilot, then send them back to helicopters. Never do it.
Yes, sir. I was just curious.
I have no doubt that you're wicked smart and could do it.
It was a fun challenge.
I won't interrupt you on your question anymore, I promise.
Hi, sir. I was just curious if you knew if they were planning to do any more of it too, sir. Because first they've kind of pulled space with the Maritime Space Officer, now MICWO. I was curious if there was going to be like an 1890 down the road, or if you had any.
You mean further segregation of the IW communities?
Yes, sir.
So not in the conversation. I saw Cos Carmichael. Did he run off because he knew the hard questions were coming? So it's a great question, and not currently being discussed, right now. But I'm not saying that's not impossible, right? And I'll use cryptologic as an example, right? Because you guys are supposed to be, badass, pardon my French, really good steely-eyed killer signals intelligence guys and gals, right? But also wicked good EW folks, right? Those are pretty different things. And so it may come a time, not yet, but it may come a time where we say, hey, we got to specialize, right? Because I need deeper knowledge. When we start talking about that battle space awareness that I was talking about, and you throw in the space domain awareness, and you're talking about fires, long-range precision fires in space and terrestrially and across the globe, I don't know. Maybe that's too much for one person to do, and so we got to say, hey, the OTHT battle space awareness, long-range fire guys and gals, that's one group. And then sort of more towards the SIGINT OTHT group, and then maybe there's another group that's doing all the high-end EW stuff. But for right now, no. But I would say, the world keeps developing. 4 years ago, we wouldn't have said we're going to have space cadre, space officers, MICWOs, and expanding CWEs. So, please, last one.
Good afternoon, Admiral. This is Will Henry at WTG Japan. Do you anticipate that...
Love what you guys are doing over there.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
Do you anticipate that CWEs will sort of fill in that engineering duty officer role for the cyber community when it comes to acquisitions and program integration, or do you anticipate a new community standing up to take care of that very important role that needs that technical expertise that also has operational integration? So,
Will, first of all, great to see you again. So I think they kind of are doing that right now, okay? So the guys at Nickwidge, a lot of them are acquisition experts as well. Now, not all of them, okay? So I'm not requiring it of a CWE, right? So I think there will be some CWEs that are super, super good at cyber. And there's gonna be some CWEs that are pretty good at cyber and EW, but also have a really in-depth acquisition skill set. And then there's gonna be some CWEs that are really good at the EW side, right? And some CWEs might have a little bit of all of it, right? So it's okay, just like we have different flavors of LDOs and different skill sets in LDOs, that not all CWEs have to be exactly the same. Because I had 4 Navy lieutenants that wrote an AIML program that would probably smoke check deep sync, right? But and they are 4 lieutenants, right? So those guys may not be really all that great at EW, but they were wicked good at AIML, right? So we already have CWEs that are doing that role. And I think that's a really critical thing for them to do. I also want more civilian workforce to do that, right? So that I have continual and repeatable foundational knowledge in Nickwidge and other commands, so that I'm not always depending on a CWE or the COXO to do it. Okay, I got to wrap it up there. I'm at time. So I apologize, and I can stay around after to answer some more questions, or I'll have Admiral Harding or Tracy Hines can answer them. Admiral Hines answer all your space questions. But again, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you again. Thanks to AFCEA West and US&I for this repeated opportunity to talk about what we're doing at Fleet Cyber Navy Space. Again, about 15 or so thousand folks that are just doing really, really great work that I'm super proud of what they're doing. And we look forward to deepening our partnership and our work with all of you because to meet the threats that we have out there, we're going to need it. Thank you guys all very much.